Welcome to the Book Marketing 101 and Outlining Workshop. Always hit a couple snafus when trying to do a live for the first time. On my screen down here, it looks like it's actually working. So let's just go for it and let's see how it goes here. So this is the book outline template. This is the coachability outline that I was just blabbing about that you weren't able to see. That's what we have here. Let's jump back into where I was. So you have the start with why, book's purpose section. This is very, very important. This is critical when you're thinking of how do I start my book? It helps you answer all those questions. Is my book going to be good enough? Do I have enough to share? Do I have enough to write 50,000 words, 60,000 words? Am I going to just kind of drop out when I get to a point of, this isn't interesting, or I just don't feel like working on this anymore. That is all going to be prevented when you're working with the outline in this section. So these questions are very important. They're very purpose driven, and I know that it can be tempting to skip these. And I also know that, when you think of an outline, you're not even thinking of these questions. Most people, when they think of outline, let's just jump here because this is very important. Most people think this is all there is to a book outline. Chapter by chapter, what you're going to say, what examples you're going to give, and just a very brief, maybe there's just a couple bullet points in this section for each chapter, and they consider that to be an outline. No, honestly, when you write a book, you need a lot more than that. And this is for nonfiction. Maybe if you're a fiction author, you can just go through and, jimble jamble your way through the keys and, finish that up there. But writing a nonfiction book, super helpful to have this full outline. You can see this is only one small section of my outline, is this chapter by chapter. So let's start with the book's why, answer these questions, and really dig in and be honest with yourself. What are you looking to accomplish here? And you can see right away in this third question, we have who am I giving it to and why, starting with the end in mind. Very important to consider that. And then let's just share that for me, I have a completed book in my hands. Who am I going to give it to and why? What am I going to be thinking about with this coachability book? Probably other coaches, other people that have connected with me in that way. I'm going to give it to any coach that I've worked with, anybody that is currently seeking some growth. And I probably would need to define that a little bit deeper. That's kind of like, yeah, that's for everyone. Yeah, and maybe not everyone, because not everyone is seeking that, but anyone who's worked with a coach who wants to get a little bit better with putting that coachability into action. Because it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to hire someone to help me lose weight, or I'm gonna hire a fitness professional and they're going to be able to help me lose weight. There's always only so much that person can do for you. You have to take on a lot of the bulk work with that, because and even those coaches say, hey, you did all the work. In the end, you have to be someone that is going to take their knowledge and be able to put that into practice. Again, the coachability code. This is not a workshop about my book necessarily, but that's just the example that I would answer with that. And I would try to get very specific with certain people, and then I would add, general groups of people. Where am I gonna hand this book out? Am I gonna go to I don't know, fitness coaching convention or something like that and give it out? This is not, I'm going to sit in a library and do a signing, because that's not something that works generally for nonfiction. And that should be music to your ears if you're someone that's, okay, I never want to be the author that's just sitting there awkwardly waiting for people to come up to their table. That is not the marketing that I'm into. And that's not the answer for this section. So you can see you're also starting to answer. Let's go down further on this list and not spend more time than we need just on this first one. But you could start to see why I'm super passionate about this as part of a book outlining, because it's not just what am I going to say? It's why am I going to say it? Who am I going to say it to? And then where is the book going to go? It's these important questions that are not just based on what you're saying. What is unique about your book idea? I wrote, I'm the person to write this book because I battled mediocrity all my life. Nice. That's nice to put on a live video. I didn't remember that I put that in there, but that's fine. It's true. Yeah, just thinking about GPA, SAT scores, never super great. Always with someone that says, you know what, I need help. But I've also been someone who And my wife will tell you, Miranda will tell you, I always get very happy about the fact that I'm coachable. I won the coaches award in middle school baseball, farm team baseball, I think. And that was one of the, proudest moments of my life because it shows that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, you can always get better and improve if you're willing to take that step back and get that help and be humble throughout that process. So those are the questions in this first section. I'll let you go through those and answer those, but you'll see again, even in this last one, very marketing driven. Target audience. I could do an entire workshop on figuring out who your target audience is. There are coaches out there. There's some really good coaches on LinkedIn that can help you figure out who your ICP is, which is ICP's ideal customer profile. But basically, if people say, who's your ICP, they mean who is the person that you are talking to? Who is the person that's going to buy from you potentially? Um, so that's who you're going to be putting in there and define them as well as you possibly can. This thesis, the principal argument in the book, I know that can be something that can be overwhelming for people if you're just like, hey, Jordan, I'm just starting this. I have no idea necessarily what I'm working on or what I'm doing or what my book's even going to be about. How can I possibly tell you what my thesis is? Perfectly fine. If that describes you, then don't do anything right here. Skip back to this question 4 and 5 and think about that a little bit more. And then this thesis will start to emerge. And then if this is very similar to this title section below. Let me make this a little bigger for you. Make sure you can see it. Very similar to the title section below. This is a work in progress. It's something you can iterate with over time. You do not have to be certain about this, or does not have to be rock solid when you're putting this in. Probably my most favorite part of doing an outline is these title ideas. It's always where I start. I enjoy this a lot. You can use ChatGPT for this or another AI to give you ideas, potentially even give you bad ideas. I think the feedback advantage, that was a OpenAI ChatGPT idea, but I don't like it. I don't really love any of these. I worked on it for 10 minutes today just to get my head in this outline. I came up with this one. This is the one I put. Let me scroll up here. I think the scroll up is a little bit of a delay, but that's the one I have right there, but that's not, that's neither here nor there. This section is just for you, not to get focused on what is my end title going to be. This section is, again, like, who am I talking to? And so who am I talking to and why? This first part of the title is just, as catchy as possible. And this subtitle will coalesce with your thesis and with all the answers that you put above, and it will start to come together in terms of, oh, this is who the book is for, and this is what it's going to help them accomplish. So do I even have that yet? No, because I don't have those sections filled out. It's just, hey, how to get better at anything. Well, that's pretty vague. Is that going to end up as a subtitle? Probably not. Okay, so that's the next section there. We're doing pretty good on time. Just wanted to run through this so you can see each section. Books to read, quote, reference within. These are books that I want you to actually read. I say this a lot, and I don't think people hear me, and that's fine. But I'll say it again because it's my live broadcast. We'll say it again. Read at least 10 books when you're working on writing your book. Very important. So, okay, we're good. I have 2 here so far. I'm going to put it probably at least 25. It's usually what I recommend people do. And then you're going to put questions underneath. I have it in my other outline. You're going to put questions underneath. I think I had it in the beginning there. What is missing from these books, and what do people not like or like? So if some of these books have really bad reviews or really good reviews, you're looking at that in your competitive analysis. So you could go down a whole cavalcade of work as far as doing a competitive analysis. But for me, the biggest parts are thinking about 25 books that are similar to the ones that you potentially want to write, picking 10 of those that you're going to actually read, and then writing the list of, okay, what's missing? What can I bring to the table? Which, again, if you do this in order, but you don't have to do it in order. But if you do it in order, you're going to see what can I bring to the table. You'll see that it'll start popping out, especially with these middle questions here. What's unique about my book idea, and what am I, how am I the best person to share this? That will start coming out if you do this in order and you read the books. You'll say, oh, okay, but many of these books are covering this XYZ subject. So many of the books within the book writing industry covered traditional publishing, but they didn't go super deep into what I call squad publishing, which is getting a lot of people to help you publish your book. And they didn't go too deep into hybrid publishing and comparing those. So I said, oh, okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper in my book and answer those questions. So that was helpful for me. This is other links that you want to reference within the book. Other research, if you come across, which you should be doing your research, this section can help you with that. And quotes, this is another, if you need sections that are pretty quick and easy for you to put together and finish, that's what these parts are going to help you with, these quotes to add. So this section and the title section, if you're just like, man, I don't know if I really even feel like working on my book outline, these are pretty easy. You can have ChatGPT help you with this. You could Google some. You could, if you want to go the next step further eventually, which is what you should probably do, is the books that you're reading here in this section, take some quotes and add them here. Or just if you're reading them on a Kindle, make notes and highlight. Or if you're reading an actual print book, highlight that out so that you can come back to that later. And these are just the quotes that you want to add to your book. I do these for all of the books that I write myself, and I do this for my clients as well. The same list. Like, we're looking through these books, and then we're actually reading them. Sometimes the client will read a couple, and I'll read a few, and then we'll talk about that. But if your goal is, and it should be, to write a great book, it absolutely behooves you to read other books so that you can not copy from those books. Obviously, that's not what we're doing, but you want to see how your book can slide into that genre and become part of what people are talking about. So let's get down to how will I sell the book? Oh yeah, halfway through the outline, again, we're talking about marketing. You can see how marketing driven my outlines are. So what can I commit to doing to sell my book once it's published? Again, similar to this starting section. We have, where's the question there? We have this one, who am I giving it to and why? Again, you can add more here. How will I sell the book? This is your section to not just ask ChatGPT, how do people market books? How do people sell books? Because that's not the point. You're not Googling this as an answer. And when I work with people, we talk about this quite a bit because this is important to figure out who is going to be accessing the book at the end. What am I going to be doing with it? So obviously, I'm going to have a lot more than just two here eventually, but these are just two that I started with. You're going to thinking about how you're going to sell the book at the end. And I have a list of people that I'm going to interview for my book. I am hoping to get this list. My big goal for my next book is to interview 100 people, 100 coaches, 100 people that have undergone coaching to see what they're thinking. I think interviewing people is a next level book creation tactic, or whatever you want to call it. You can get so much good information by interviewing people that have been through it and that have done it. And yeah, so when I am doing this, I know that I'm going to gain a ton from this section. I may even cut this whole part and move it up to the top and start with that. After I'm thinking about the book's purpose, but start with who am I going to interview and then go from there. And then I added this section recently, what questions do people have on this? So as I start to see, as I start to think about this book, as I start to interview people, as I start to just open my mind to the book, and this is an important stage of book writing in itself, is opening your mind to your content and how it impacts the world. You're going to just start paying attention when people talk to you. You're going to start paying attention to what people say online. And anytime someone comes to you in a direct message or an email, says, oh, I kind I was thinking about this. I have this as a question. You save that, and then obviously you don't have to address all of those in your book, but you're saving that to be able to address there. All the possible topics that your book this is the brain dump, the info dump um, that can be taken from the rest of this outline and put into here. And then eventually you're going to sort that into the introduction section using this. And I'm not going to go through exactly how to do that because that's just um, more in depth and we're running out of time for this section. And then you're going to take all of what you have here in the brainstorm possible topics and all of what you had before, as such as the quotes, um, your thesis, you're going to add that all into this chapter by chapter breakdown. And you're going to do it in this order and then put that here. This is, again, not the main part of the outline, but this is kind of where it is going. It's where you're putting your content to, if that makes sense. So eventually your everything else in your outline is going to be fed into this chapter by chapter section. So yeah, that's that. And then, write up a short conclusion and then think about what types of back matter you're going to put in your book. Okay. So that was about 20 minutes. That's the outline process. Hopefully you can see, we're going to jump up to the top here of just a book outline title. So hopefully you can see again how passionate I am about this, but then just be thinking about, okay, wow, that is potentially a lot of work. So it should not feel overwhelming, and it shouldn't make you think, oh man, this is something that I can never do, or why can't I just get started on writing my book? Why do I have to do these steps first? And those are all valid questions and items to think about. And the answer to that is you don't have to start with this. You can just start on your book if that's what you want to do. This is just my recommendations as far as doing this. I've written so many books now over the past 10 years, and I've always started with an outline like this. Now, when I first started 10 years ago, I did not start with an outline like this. I just wrote randomness on a Google Doc. I think the entire thing was maybe about 10 pages of just bullet points. It's basically like this brainstorm possible topics list, and that's it. That's all it was. It wasn't sorted, it wasn't organized. I just used that and got started, which again is completely fine if that's the type of thinker you are, and that's the type of if you want to write your book by the seat of your pants, and that's completely fine. But generally, for nonfiction, it is so much better to start here, take it slow, and start to really consider these questions because this just will bleed into the rest of your book. And then you're going to get to the end of the outline. You're going to finish this 70% complete, get it as close to done without feeling overwhelmed. And then this is going to write your book for you, honestly. That's why I'm so big on this. You're going to get this out to probably in total about 5,000 words. I think the outline for Nonfiction Alchemy, and I don't have it up, but outline for Nonfiction Alchemy was about 6,000 words. And some people say, Jordan, that's way too long for an outline. And I say it's probably not long enough. But it was helpful to get started. And then eventually that outline, it turned itself into the book, and then the book became the new working document. But this is where to start, honestly. So if you have any questions on that, pop them in the chat if that's possible. I'm going to click on here and oh, I can see some things. That's great. Oh, sorry, I was just starting to click on the things there. Okay, sorry, I got distracted by the comments. So it's cool. I didn't know that I could see those, so that's great that I can see those comments there. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. Okay, so this is the outline section. That was part one. We're going to jump into the book marketing section. So I know that's what people were really excited about. That was the content that people had on the poll. So here's what we're going to bring up. We're going to bring up this book marketing. I'm not going to go through and read this. Do not worry. I'm not going to read every word in this post. I think you should read this post, and I'll even pop it as a link into the chat because I can see the chat. Boom. I pop that in there. You can see that and click on this if you'd like. And also, let's click on the book outline template and put that in there as well. Now that I know, what I'm doing. That's great. Okay, so that's in there. That's book outline template. We're going to go to this book marketing and we're going to start here. Like I said, we're not going to read through the whole thing. Let's talk about the book marketing. So what you're thinking about with book marketing is that you want to have evergreen tactics that are going to feed into your outline. These are going to be things that you're going to say, okay, I can do this. Honestly, you know, I'm just a person. I'm a human. I have, I don't have limitless capacity. These are the things that I'm going to do with my book launch. I always tell those people there are a million things that you could do to market your book. If you type in book marketing, if you chat GPT book marketing tactics, it could easily give you hundreds and hundreds. And I always say a million. There are so many different ways you can market a book. You only need to pick what is going to work for you. Because when you write a nonfiction book and you have it geared toward some of these things I'm going to share here, you don't need to sell 100,000 copies. You don't even need to sell 20,000 copies of the book, the one book itself. You just need to sell just enough to to reach your target audience and to help them, and then eventually use that as a platform to potentially help them even further. So let's jump into the number one here. We're just going to scroll down, and then I'm going to click on another link as well. So the first step that you want to have for book marketing is to create a big ticket offer. You want to have something, whether that's coaching, whether that's consulting. I don't know why my mind went blank there for a second. Law. Um, if you ghostwriting services, that could be another example of that. So let's look. This is what we got on my website. I just wanted to show you. This is my big ticket offer. So for Nonfiction Alchemy, the big ticket offer was pretty simple. I didn't have that in the past. I'll be honest with you. When I was writing Volcanic Momentum, which is a personal growth and development book, I never really wanted to be a life coach or anything like that. That was not on my radar. So I did not always do this. I'll be honest with you. But for Nonfiction Alchemy, I was super excited about that book. And people ask me, Jordan, what book are you most proud of? And Volcanic Momentum has a special place in my heart, especially because Miranda wrote the forward in there, and there was just a lot of cool things going on in our lives at the time. But I'm most proud of Nonfiction Alchemy, honestly, because I finally related it to what I really want to do. And it's not life coaching, and it's not, being a personality expert, which was kind of where Catalyze Your Destiny was going, another book that I wrote, I think 2021 or 22, 2021, 2022. That's where that book was going. But this book, Nonfiction Alchemy, finally went and said, okay, I am a ghostwriter. I'm an editor. This is what I want to do. I'm still going to help people. That book does not say you have to work with me. I don't say that in this workshop, and I hope you never get that. You do not have to work with me. However, it can be super helpful to work with someone in the end if you're someone that says, okay, I keep thinking about writing a book. I keep talking about writing a book. I'm not sure if I'm going to ever do that. The ghostwriter can help you. So my big ticket offer now is ghostwriting. I also have a course. I have a Start Your Book, Craft an Outline course that I created that is kind of a more in depth, just different than this workshop, but that's just mine. So the question is, what transformation could you offer people? What could you do with your book? And it's helpful if you figure that out in advance. It's helpful if you already have a platform, already have people you're talking to. Maybe you already offer some coaching and consulting services. You do not have to have that. This can be built at the same time. A book takes 6 months to a year to finish. So it can absolutely be built at the same time. You can build that hand in hand. And it's helpful to think about this. So the number one book marketing tactic really is to maximize the potential of every sale. And why do I say this? Because some of the other things that we're going to talk about don't necessarily work if you don't have that. And this, again, this is generally for fiction or for nonfiction, not for fiction writing. The fiction writing is a whole different animal and ball game. But look what I have right here. Look what I say in this. If 100 people, if 100 of the right people buy your book, people who could become clients later on, you just stole the jump ball. You're winning the game already. And that's 100 books. 100 books to the right people is something every author can do. And I will guarantee that. You absolutely can sell slash give slash fling books at people while you're walking down, a busy business street, whatever you want to do. You're going to be able to sell slash give 100 books away. Um, Shoot for more than that, obviously. But this is what's going to, if you have all this right, then there's always going to be risk. You're an entrepreneur. You know that. There's always going to be risk when you do things like this. But when you have, excuse me, when you have this part figured out in advance, when you start with an outline that is book's purpose and who you're going to give it to, okay? Um, it's going to make this part even more likely to work out for you. And all the math is going to work in your favor because you have something that you're already trying to share with people that you love to do. So don't be like me. Don't get into this stage where you write Volcanic Momentum. And again, I love that book. There was a lot of learning. I'm very happy that I wrote it. But like I said, I didn't have that big ticket offer at the end. So I was just waiting on book sales to pave the way. And that book sold quite a bit. I sold over, I don't know exactly how many. I sold over 10,000 copies of Volcanic Momentum. And that is fantastic for any author. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm happy that that happened. And as I said in the beginning of this post, uh, if you just think about, okay, I've sold over 20,000 books, selling 20,000 of selling 10,000 alone of one book is fantastic. That is more than most authors will do. You're in the 1% of the 1%. But if you're thinking of recouping the cost of your time or the cost of working with a ghostwriter, that doesn't cut it. It's not going to cut it. It needs to be part of your overall brand. So I won't harp on that anymore. I'm just pretty big on that. Give your book away, book marketing strategy. Let's get into what I am doing. Hopefully you can see this all right. It looks like my face is over it. Well, I don't know how to move my face, so you're just going to have to see my face over this, but that's okay. Maybe if I'm not going to mess with it. Hopefully you can just see part of this. And let's see if there's any new. Okay. Oh, sorry. Um, yeah, this is what have been doing. I blacked out the names so you can't see those and you can't see their profile link. There's some notes in here, but I don't think there's no identifying information there. So I have been doing this since January 13th of this year. I've been giving my book away. It's the best strategy I've ever done. It has created leads for me, some very good leads. And probably even more importantly, I've been able to help more people and to start more conversations by doing this. So this is my favorite strategy that I've ever done, and I'm just pumped about this. And this is how I've done it. I have, first of all, I do it all through LinkedIn. I connect with new people regularly. I wasn't doing that as well in 2024. And I said, 2025, I'm going to start connecting with new people that I believe fit my ICP, again, my ideal customer profile. These are the founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, people that potentially are too busy to write a book, but have a book in mind that they want to get out there, that I could potentially help them write that. This is not indie authors. This is not people that are hoping to write a book and make a bunch of money just on the book royalties itself. These are people that already understand kind of the idea that a book is a long-term legacy building, just major part of their brand, and they're willing to invest in that. So that's kind of my ICP. But this is what I've been doing. I message all new connections, and then I'll even tell you what I sent to them. I don't think there's anything here. This is what I send to them. You probably can't see that. It might be a little too small, but I just say, thank you for the recent connection. This is to all new connections on LinkedIn. I just wanted to let you know I am giving away a free copy of my book to every one of my new connections. I'd love to send you a copy if that interests you. And then I say, you can have a paperback. I don't mind sending that out to you. Some people are like, I don't want you to have to pay for shipping, but I'm so happy to give books away. It's one of the best things you can do. And just a side note, Charlie Tremendous Jones, who was I don't think he's super famous, but he was one of the most best-selling authors of all time, I believe. Maybe if not the most, he was definitely up there. He always said that giving books away was his best strategy, and it helped him sell more books. It helped him gain clients. It was the best thing that he could do for his marketing. I've always kind of took that to heart. So that's what I do when that's what I do as part of my major book marketing strategy. 2025 is my book marketing year for Nonfiction Alchemy, and I am getting it out there and people are reading it. So let's go back to this part of the spreadsheet. I have it as free Nonfiction Alchemy scheme. That seems kind of like black hat, but I just like that I said scheme there. So the name is here. If it's highlighted in green, I think it means I sent them a PDF. I guess for some of these earlier ones, I didn't even mark it. So we'll mark that you can see that. And then if they're print, I add them to a separate spreadsheet, and then my brother helps me get those copies sent out to people, signed copies. And then, yeah, you can see just how I have it marked. And let's just scroll down to the end. So it's cool to see the numbers. I've sent 386 messages, and let's just, I'll tell you right on this call here, I'm not ashamed in any way to say this. I have sent 111 books, if that count is right. And there may be some parts in the middle where there's some text, but yeah, so 25% of people respond. That's fantastic. So I've sent over 100 books out in just sending books to new connections. I'm still trying to have a book in my bag, and there's some other places in here where I do give my book away for anybody that is interested in working with me, that I don't even count that on here. So just through this scheme alone, I've given away over 100 books. To me, that is fantastic. It's not a short-term convert the leads type of strategy, and I know that, but I'm getting my book into the hands of people that could potentially work with me, and that's what we're looking for. So that was a lot for the second part of this. You can see that, again, I'm pretty obsessed with the giveaway section. So let's jump. We're going to jump to the Amazon ads. I recommend not having me do your ads. I'll just be honest about that. And it's not something I would ever do for people because I don't like it. I don't want to do it. So I have ads running on. I was trying to decide if there's any identifying information there. I don't think so. This is what I have. This is what's going on for, I'll just show you. This is what's going on for May so far of this year. I've spent about 34 bucks, and then I have some orders. So this is just a very small part of my strategy for selling books, and it's good to continue selling books as well as giving books away. So this is Amazon. I use this primarily for advertising books. And let's just jump back before we jump into the specifics here. The main concept of why you would want to use ads for your book, I talk about it here, is because, and again, why do I like this stuff? Because it all kind of fits together, it coalesces together. How can I use ads if I'm spending more than I'm gaining on those ads? So it's very difficult to optimize your ads on Amazon, BookBub, Facebook, so that you can sell a book and maintain a positive ROI. Very difficult. Across the spectrum of all the people I've worked with and all the authors I've talked to about this, very difficult. Why is it difficult? Because books, you can't sell them for a lot generally. And maybe this is a mindset shift that we could potentially blast through. I know of a guy that sold his book for $1,000. So that guy potentially can spend a lot of money on ads because he's selling his book for $1,000. But generally, people only want to spend about 10 to 25 on a book. Even 25 on a print book is pushing it for most people, if they were being honest. So how do you do it then? How do you make it worth it to do these ads? And why is this an important book marketing strategy? Because of everything we've talked about before. If you have a big ticket offer, if you have something that you're sharing with people, if you have the end goal or at least some kind of pipeline, then it's much easier for you to be able to do this and make it and gain that positive ROI from that. I only need to gain a couple clients. I don't even like saying gain, but if 2 people decide to work with me because of reading Nonfiction Alchemy, then it'll be pretty much worth my entire time and the entire amount of money that I've spent for creation, advertising, and all that. So you need to figure that out for yourself. What can I charge my coaching clients? What do I need to charge for a course? How do I need to set all this up so that my book can be part of a business that's gaining me a positive ROI? You can't just have the book. There has to be more there. It can be the start of something, it can be part of something as you're working on it. But a book in and of itself can be very difficult for you to gain the money back from that. That's something I share with people freely on my discovery calls. Say, hey, if you're not even if you're just thinking of working with me. So I share this in another post. It's still going to cost you your time, and you have to figure out what your time is worth. If you spend 500 hours writing a book, book royalties alone are not going to recoup that, most likely. If you work with me, the amount that you pay me, which saves you a lot of time, but then you're still going to have to put in some time. The amount of that, and usually people that work with me, they put in, an hour or two a week just to talk with me via Zoom. But that's still time you have to factor in, and then you have to factor in what you're paying me. Again, very difficult to make a positive ROI unless you have some kind of end goal um, and thing that you're pushing people towards. So you can help a lot of people along the way with a book, which is fantastic. A great reason to write a book is to help a lot of people and gear it toward really helping one or two or three people just to gain back that positive ROI. And a book keeps on giving. You can keep running ads. You can keep giving it away. You can keep saying to every one of the new people you meet, you can keep giving a copy away. So that's just what to think about with that. So I want to jump to these next three because I do want to spend time answering some questions. Um, and I'll scroll through the chat at the end and see if there's any questions there. I have some questions too that people sent before. So um, let's just jump into these last couple parts of increasing your author visibility and pick a platform. I'm just going to go through these real quick. You want to increase your author visibility you can potentially put the fact that you're an author everywhere. This is something to do at the end, but it's something to be thinking about in the beginning. Where am I online, and how would being an author help me to improve that? I will put a link to this. I think I can. Anyone with the link can view. I'm able to do that real quick. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. This is just something probably to save until later, but look through it. This is a checklist for you to update your author status everywhere that you are online. And this is important to think about because this is just another boon for being an author. You can now say that you're an author. Fantastic, right? Go through this list, update everything that you have, and then, see how that might impact your brand. And then lastly on here, it's very important to pick a platform and be active there online. I used to not do this. I came to LinkedIn in 2023, totally burnt out from social media. And I said, I am excited. I was not. I was not excited to be on there and to just interact with other people. But I realized that I was super isolated before, so that was a boon. I was able to connect with people. That was another boon. And then LinkedIn just became this place that I have been able to connect with people, outreach to people, give the book away to my ICP, learn a lot about myself in the process, gain valuable leads, and even work with people. So very important to pick a platform and be active there. Some people have given the advice, be everywhere. I don't know if you're familiar with Pat Flynn. That's something he used to always say is be everywhere. That never worked for me. Every time I tried to be even in multiple places, I was burnt out and couldn't do it. LinkedIn worked for me. You can figure out where works for you the most. Well, we'll answer these questions for the next 10 minutes or so. If you have to go, that is completely fine. And then if you have any questions and you're on this call, or if you have any questions and you're not live, that's completely fine because you're going to potentially be seeing this later. Send them to my DM on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, that's fantastic. Or you can send me an email, jordan@jmring.com. I'm always happy to answer questions because as soon as you start this process of writing a book, you just get impacted with all the things that you had no idea that you needed to know. So happy to help you in that case. So let's answer some of these questions up until the buzzer, and then we'll go from there. Someone asked me this, how do I know if I'm ready to write a book? Uh, I see this question all the time, and it's a fantastic question. And I think it's answered by what we talked about today. Do you have other things? Do you have other parts of your brand that a book could support? Or are you working on a business that the book could be a part of? Or do you just have to get a book out there? That's completely fine. Some people write a book just to create a legacy for themselves, to have something in print that lasts. And that's a perfectly good reason to write a book. And the main crux of this question is, how do I know if I'm ready? Well, you're never going to know. You're never going to know that your outline is completely done. But as with anything in life, you just have to go and do it eventually. I'm all for planning, I'm all for reflecting. That is very, and that's something Miranda and I always talk about. We do our weekly meetings, we're very intentional. We try to do things, but we do the things that we say we're going to do. And if I were you, I'd jump on social media and just say, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, or I'm going to write a book. You're going to get support right away, and you're going to immediately gain confidence in the fact that, yeah, you have something to say, and yeah, you can write a book. I've seen some people online say and talk about, um, yeah, not everyone has a book in them. I don't agree with that at all. I only agree with that if you're the type of person that everyone is telling you to write a book and you're like, oh man, I don't even want to have anything to do with writing a book. Then that's fine. You don't have to write a book. You can start a podcast, you can do something else. If you want, you could have someone help you. But if you don't even want your name on a book ever, then that's really the only person that can't write a book. If you're someone that has any part of you inside your mind, inside your heart, inside your soul that says, I think I could help someone with a book, you have to do it and get it out there. That's what I think. And this, so that's my answer to this question. How do I come up? Next question is that I have on here. How do I come up with a book idea that people actually want to read? Again, it's going back to it's not going on this outline and writing all of the possible book ideas that you have. It's going with the one that comes most easily to you. And maybe it's two, maybe it's three, but it's not looking at your list and saying, okay, here are all these things that I could write a book about. If you've never written a book before, I pretty much guarantee you have one idea that is surfaced, that is up higher than all the rest. That, of course, if it's just the inkling of an idea, if it's just a little ember, you're going to have to coax that into a fire, which is normal and completely fine. It's still going to be an idea that is this much higher than all the rest. And that's the book idea that people want to read. And why? It's because it's from you. And if it fits, again, if it fits with everything else that you're doing, people are going to want to read it. If you pour your heart into it, if you don't write the whole thing with ChatGPT, because then no one will read it because it's going to be super boring. If you actually spend time to tell your stories and give wisdom and advice that you've learned throughout the way, and depending on what the book's genre is, if it's memoir, it's going to be a lot more of that. And if it's business, it's going to be less of your story and more facts, research, data, methods, and all that, which is completely fine. So it's going to be a mix depending there. It's still going to be unique and it's still going to be yours. And that's the most important part. Let's answer one more, and then I want to give you my final closing call to action, CTA action that I want you to take. How long does it take to go from idea to finished manuscript? So this is what I always tell people. If you work with me, I can tell you that it's going to take on average, it's going to take about a year. It's a long process to write a book. If you want to do it fast, fine. I like fast projects. 6 months. It's still going to take you to finish that manuscript. And then you're not going to want to just go plop that, excuse me. You're not going to want to just go plop that manuscript onto KDP in a Word doc file. That is not what you're going to want to do, especially if you're a professional. You're going to want to spend at least 6 months in the marketing and launch phase of things. So when I had my manuscript finished, I believe it was middle of the summer or maybe early summer of 2024, and I launched it in October. I gave myself a 6-month runway. So even earlier, 6 months runway. It was not early summer. It was May that I said, okay, this, my manuscript is going to be finished and I'm going to finish up all the formatting, publishing and stuff I need to do. And then I'm going to launch this over this period. And that's what you want to save that time for. So how long does it take to go from idea to finished manuscript that's out and published? Potentially a year and a half it's going to take for you to do that. But if you get started today, it's going to be faster. If you keep twiddling your thumbs and saying, okay, I kind of want to write a book someday, um, you know, potentially you're never going to get there. So, and lastly, I wanted to just thank you for making it this far. If you're still on the call, that's fantastic. Or if you're watching this later and you're still listening to me yabber on about publishing and books and all that, wow, you're amazing. And I can pretty much tell you automatically, no matter your life situation, no matter who you are, you're someone I want to work with just because of the fact that you made it all the way to the end. So I said, and I promised this would not be a pressure to work with me, and that's not what this is. But I do want to encourage you to either on your own or with a ghostwriter or with an editor or someone, stop waiting. If you've made it this far, you obviously want to write a book. You have a lot of interests, or you at least, or you like listening to me talk, which yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that tells you about you. Maybe that's something else. Or you just like listening to me, or you're just my wife watching this, which is completely fine too. You don't want to write a book, that's fine. But if you are and you want to write a book, stop waiting. And if it's me, I'd love to write that with you. And it's very simple process to work with me. All you have to do is email me, jordan@jmring.com, or direct message me on LinkedIn if you already are connected with me on there. Just say that you want to talk about your book project. I'm never going to hard sell you. We're just going to have a conversation. I'm going to write you up a customized proposal based on your project with a customized fees, depending on your needs, depending on how long you want the book, depending on all those factors. And there's never going to be any pressure at all. But you'll have that, and you'll have that to compare if you want to look at other ghostwriters, or you'll have it just to think about. There's never going to be any pressure for me because I know it's a big investment, and I want people to work with me who feel really good about it and want to work with me. So that's my end CTA push on that, and I think we're just about at the end of time. So I'm going to end it there.